This lecture is about how much fat is in certain foods. It's specifically about high-fat foods. The job of fat in our food is weight gain and fat storage. This is clear from a variety of nutrition studies. The job of fat is weight gain. However, most people have really no idea how much fat is in foods. But if you know this, you have a better chance of success. Indeed, if fat is low enough in your diet, weight gain is virtually impossible. Some of the exceptions are fat-free, high-sugar candies and things like soda. Extra fat from food is stored under your skin, and as your health worsens, it is stored inside your body, inside your organs, like your muscles, liver, heart, pancreas, and intestines. Fat really does not belong in these places, and this is how it causes disease. This is called visceral or belly fat. What's key to understand is that fat doesn't contribute to fullness. This is proven in studies. So we can eat a lot of calories from fat, such as in ground meat, pizza, or fried foods, and our body really doesn't realize it. It doesn't help us stop eating. In contrast, healthy carbs, rich in carbohydrate and high in fiber often, make you very full, and they have almost no fat in them. High-fat foods at best will keep you at the same weight, typically only if you are very physically active. However, if you're inactive, you'll steadily have weight gain. Even with exercise, with enough fat in the diet, you might even gain weight, or at best, not lose any weight. For example, if you're someone who runs, but you eat fast food, you're really not going to see any success with weight loss. Exercise makes you hungry, and when you exercise and eat more food, and it's high-fat foods, all of the fat that you burn during exercise goes right back on your body. Fat literally cancels out all the hard work. And we live in a high-fat food environment. It's surprising to hear, but most of the foods and meals people eat at restaurants and most snack and junk foods people eat are actually high-fat foods. This can make it difficult to succeed unless you understand how high the fat is in certain foods and you can begin to make different decisions. A key point right away is that most of the foods people call proteins are mostly fat calories. Over half of the energy is coming from fat. Let's imagine a pie representing a given food, with the calories from each macronutrient, fat, carbs, and protein, as slices of the pie. A high-fat food is one where 45% or more of the pie is fat calories. Foods and meals that promote weight loss, in contrast, are those with around 20% of the calories from fat. Healthy, starchy foods, vegetables and fruits, have very little fat, usually around 5 to 10%. Let's go through the high-fat foods that most people eat a lot. Oils and butter are, of course, all fat calories. The same is true of mayonnaise and mayonnaise-based dips and sauces. Sour cream is 75% fat. The same is true of cream cheese, and people eat bagels that are loaded with cream cheese, making them high-fat meals. You really can't blame the carbs in the bagel when most of the calories are coming from fat. Salty junk foods are usually over half of the calories from fat, so this is cheese puffs and chips and a lot of snack foods that are marketed as quote-unquote healthy. Cheese is mostly fat, and people often refer to it as protein. This really isn't true. Processed and cured meats, often eaten as appetizers, people eat a lot of them, are by far mostly fat calories. They are not sources of protein. They are fat sources. Often certain cuts of steak and red meat are mostly fat calories. Sometimes they are a bit leaner, but many are mostly fat. And when you cook them with oil or butter or dressing on a salad, this becomes very, very high fat. Ground meats, most of them are mostly fat calories, over half the calories from fat. And here's one reason why at our clinic we avoid the term plant-based when we describe food. There are these plant-based sausages and burgers that are by far mostly fat calories. These are not health foods, these are weight-gaining foods. People often call pizza a carb, but if you eat pizza, this is a lot of fat, mostly fat from the cheese and the toppings. French fries are soaked in oil, mostly fat calories. Fatty meats like ribs, barbecue foods like brisket, mostly fat calories. Salmon is often over half of the calories from fat. For some reason, some of the cuts are a little bit less than this, but many have a very high amount of fat. Eggs, which many people, including health professionals, call quote-unquote protein, are mostly fat, 63% fat. Chicken with the skin on it, which is how most people enjoy chicken, usually. Mostly fat calories, and usually people cook this with added butter or olive oil. Fried chicken adds oil to an already high-fat food, chicken with the skin on it, and makes it even more high-fat. Chicken wings, which have the skin on them, again, mostly fat. Things like buffalo sauce are often made with butter, raising the amount of fat even more, and often people dip these chicken wings in high-fat dressings and sauces. Bacon, of course, is mostly fat, 67%. And even proteins that are lower in fat, such as chicken breast or tuna, those are each around 20% fat. When you mix in mayonnaise or other fats, which is the way most people do this, you end up with a very, very high-fat food, 73% fat. The same would be true of potato salad made with mayonnaise or with lots of oil. Many desserts, same thing, mostly fat, even the ones people call carbs. Ice cream is not a carb, it's a fat, over half the energy coming from fat. Cheesecake and even many regular cakes, very high fat, they are not carbs. Cake donuts, which are essentially fried flour with added sugar, still mostly fat because of all the oil they are fried in, not carbs. Chocolate is actually mostly fat, not sugar, 55% fat. Nuts, which are healthy foods, health promoting, but people call them protein, but they are actually mostly fat, about 80% fat. And it's good to have a modest amount of nuts, but when you snack on them frequently or eat a lot of them, you are adding essentially a lot of oil to your diet. Avocados, which are also healthy foods. There are healthy fats, but avocados are mostly fat calories and should be treated that way in meals. They should be treated like cheese or sour cream or cream cheese. They are a fat source. They add wonderful flavor if you like them, but lots of avocados can make it hard to succeed with weight loss because of how much fat is in them. This presentation was not to give you a hard time about the foods that you eat. You do not have to be perfect. But it is to help you build knowledge so you can succeed. If you are able to moderate the amount of high-fat foods in your diet, you will see greater success.